Okay, let's unpack this. We have a truly compelling set of source materials detailing what happens when uh, a highly structured, overachieving academic life slams headfirst into chaos.
Total chaos.
We're following a student named Auden who spends a pivotal summer trading in her heavily curated, textbook-defined existence for the messy, turbulent, but, ultimately necessary education of the real world.
Right.
This is a deep dive into self-discovery, where the perfect plan meets a very imperfect, very human reality.
And what's particularly fascinating for us to track here is the journey of a learner who is, deeply intellectually proficient, but who realized she was also severely socially isolated.
That's a great way to put it.
Auden's life had become defined by her success. It
Mhm.
was an ingrained habit, almost a reflex that guaranteed, external
It's a
validation.
reflex, yeah.
But the sources show that the path to genuine connection to true experience and meaningful attention required her to do the one thing she had spent her life avoiding,
It does.
to embrace failure, to just leap into the unknown.
And our sources for this, they all come from the text surrounding this one transformative period in her life. It's the ultimate transitional moment, really.
It is. It's right after her parents' tumultuous divorce and just before she starts her freshman year at DeVries University.
A perfect storm.
So our mission for you, the listener, is to really get into the mechanics of this fundamental transition. We're asking, how does someone dismantle a lifetime obsession with grades and academic performance to find, genuine, messy life experience?
Yeah, and we are looking for the surprising, unwritten lessons Auden learns, and not from scholars or professors.
No, not at all. They come from the most unexpected teachers, people who wouldn't know a Renaissance literature expert from, like, a simple bicycle sprocket. This is really a story about finding your own syllabus.
We have to start where Auden started, which is inside what you could only call the intellectual fortress of her childhood.
That's the perfect phrase for it.
The environment her parents created was less a nurturing home and, more a permanent high-stakes academic seminar.
Right, where the currency was purely intellectual performance. The whole environment was defined by performance metrics, not emotional ones.
And the mother is the centerpiece of that.
Oh, she's a powerhouse.
Mhm.
An academic scholar with a smart, sharp wit and a deep, raspy voice, which the sources note she acquired despite never having smoked a day in her life.
Which is such a great detail.
It is. And she is a giant in her field.
Uh-huh.
She holds a nationwide reputation as an expert on women's roles in Renaissance literature.
So the domestic life reflects this, right? Her home life involves hosting these loud, sometimes drunken debates with these adoring male graduate students.
Just hanging on her every word. There's one poor fellow who gets referenced as nerdy eyeglasses, who is, just desperately trying to form an intellectual alliance with the mother.
And Auden sees right through it.
She does. This is where we see Auden's early insight into her mother's social dynamic. She dismisses this graduate student as an idiot.
But not because he's not smart.
No, not because of his intellect. It's because she knows from a lifetime of trying how incredibly difficult it is to truly connect with her mother on any non-academic level. Auden understood that the primary emotional channel in that house was intellectual recognition.
Now, you have to contrast this powerhouse success with the father.
A stark contrast.
He's a writer, but he's detailed as struggling with his second book. He's often renting a nearby apartment to write, which, really just amounts to avoiding his family.
And that contrast between his sort of lack of publication and success, he's still struggling after years, and the mother's constant nationally recognized achievement. That's the central tension of Auden's home.
So what does that do to a kid? What role does that create for Auden?
It creates the role of the little adult. The sources are just heartbreakingly specific on this. They note that from the age of 3.
3.
3 years old. She was expected to sit quietly at grown-up discussions, coloring or entertaining herself silently. She was expected to be seen and not heard.
So she's carted around to all these highbrow events, symphonies, art shows, academic conferences.
But never allowed the typical chaotic, messy life of a child. She was trained from day one to be an observer, not a participant.
So what's the consequence of living in that kind of pressure cooker? How does it actually mold her behavior day to day?
It creates a very specific coping mechanism. Auden becomes obsessive about school and grades, and this starts in kindergarten.
Wow.
And the why is simple. Academia was the one reliable way to get parental attention.
Yeah.
She watched her brother Hollis, whose terrible grades were a constant source of disappointment, and she just learned to do the exact opposite.
So hard work became her method.
It became her established, tested methodology for gaining validation and, what she perceived as love.
But it's not just about getting approval. Here is the really profound insight Auden eventually makes about her own psychology, which is so vital for you, the listener, to grasp.
This is the key.
She realized that the only way to truly gain her parents' emotional attention would be to disappoint them or fail.
Yes. She figures out that disappointment or failure would be such a shocking act, such a breach of conduct, that it would finally force them to see her as something other than their perfect academic success story.
But she can't do it.
By the time she reaches this conclusion, succeeding was, and this is a direct quote, a habit too ingrained to break.
Ingrained habit, that's everything.
It is. It's the entire foundation of her character. It wasn't about her desire anymore. It was an involuntary automatic reflex. She couldn't choose to fail because academic achievement had become her identity, her shield, her whole coping mechanism. The intellectual fortress wasn't just built around her, it was built inside her.
So if the fortress is inside her, where does she go to escape? That brings us to her pre-summer sanctuary, Ray's diner.
Right.
Auden's insomnia started around the time of the divorce, and Ray's became her secret safe place, a place that exists entirely outside her parents' academic world.
And Ray's is the complete antithesis of that fortress.
Yeah.
It's small, it's got too much neon, sticky tables, and crucially, it's open 24 hours, 365 days a year.
It's a refuge.
It's a refuge for people who operate outside normal hours.
Yeah.
Truckers, people off the interstate, and the occasional crazy. It represents the real world, gritty, unpolished, unstructured, but most importantly, a place that's entirely non-judgmental of her grade point average.
She found a kind of simple peace there, just sitting until sunrise with nothing but coffee and apple pie.
Mm-hmm.
But even in this sanctuary, she felt this residual guilt, that weird twinge, she calls it, knowing she should be home, asleep, sticking to the schedule of the rest of the world.
And that twinge is the ghost of her old programming, It's the lingering voice of her parents' expectations.
It passes.
It does. The key detail is that the feeling quickly passed as she settled back in. Ray's was this necessary, though entirely passive, form of rebellion. It gave her a physical place to exist when she felt there was no middle ground anywhere else in her meticulously planned life. It was a place to just pause the performance.
So Auden decides to trade the sticky comfort of Ray's for the messiness of her father's new life. And she views the summer purely as a necessary layover.
A tedious wait.
A tedious wait until real life, which to her is DeFreeze University begins.
And her packing strategy tells you everything you need to know about her mindset. She brings a small duffel for clothes and her laptop. But she has a massive suitcase dedicated solely to books. She even meticulously hunts down the syllabi and core texts for her fall courses at DeFreeze so she can get a head start.
She's not packing for a summer vacation.
No, she's preparing for an intellectual deployment.
She arrives at her dad's new house with his new family. And the house itself is just a visual assault on her academic sensibilities. It's cute, white with green shutters, rocking chairs, potted flowers.
And that friendly yellow ceramic welcome pineapple hanging from the door. It's the perfect symbol of this idealized, uncomplicated, non-intellectual life she was raised to, frankly, disdain.
And then there's the stepmother, Heidi.
Heidi, who's 26 years old,
Mm-hmm.
the exact same age Auden's mother was when she had Auden's older brother, Hollis.
But that's where the comparison ends.
Oh, completely. Where the mother is defined by Renaissance literature, Heidi's focus is on constant self-maintenance. Pedicures, manicures, hair highlights. She knows everything about hemlines and shoes and sends what Auden calls entirely too chatty emails.
And Auden's initial reaction is just pure intellectual snobbery. Her greatest fear isn't, deep existential despair.
No, it's group manicures.
Or being forced into matching I love unicorns tees. This is her deeply entrenched academic armor, just flinching at anything she sees as shallow or frivolous.
But the real disruptive element, the variable she can't control, is the new baby. Thisbe Caroline West, known as Isby.
And the baby's arrival has shattered everything. The father's routine and, more crucially, Heidi's composure.
And the father, sadly, proves Auden's mother right about him. He demonstrates that his fundamental behavior hasn't changed, even with a new family. He is immediately inaccessible.
Sequestered in his office.
Yes, claiming he's on a real roll, or just organizing the final bits of his book,
Mm-hmm.
and he demands his highly convenient 9 hours of sleep and absolutely refuses to help with night feedings.
So he's physically there, but emotionally gone.
He's repeating the exact pattern Auden grew up with. The sources really highlight the irony here. He avoids the domestic chaos, but he expects Auden to step into it, asking her to find out what Heidi wants for dinner.
But then just hands her money to go out herself.
Exactly, citing the legendary onion rings at Last Chance Cafe. He's avoiding the reality of fatherhood and turning Auden into this transactional go-between, rather than engaging with his own daughter.
Okay, here's where we have to pause for a second to truly unpack the core metaphor of this section, the irony of the ocean noise machine.
That's brilliant.
They are living mere feet from the real, loud, natural ocean, yet Heidi uses a small, white noise machine, blasting manufactured artificial waves for the baby to sleep.
It's the perfect visceral symbol of their attempt to control and manufacture a peaceful reality. The real ocean is vast, loud, unpredictable, sometimes frightening.
And the machine is not.
The machine produces predictable, manageable, synthetic sound. They're trying to drown out the real, loud, messy chaos of a newborn and a dysfunctional, rapidly decaying marriage with a fake, controllable soundscape.
Which, to Auden the academic, is just jarring. She instinctively knows that reality is preferable to simulation.
Right. And that jarring observation leads her to discover Heidi's true reality. She finds Heidi on the couch, crying hysterically, the manufactured ocean sound just deafening. Heidi is utterly exhausted, suffering from postpartum issues, and worried about the baby constantly.
This has to be a breakthrough moment for Auden.
It is. She had judged Heidi as shallow and simple, equating manicures and hemlines with, intellectual vapidity.
Yeah.
But she is suddenly faced with intense, messy, and undeniable emotional pain.
And it's a problem she has no academic framework for.
Zero. Her textbooks on women's roles in the Renaissance offer no guidance on postpartum depression or chaotic childcare. It forces her to recognize Heidi's humanity outside of her aesthetic choices.
So Auden has now faced the intellectual failure of her father and the emotional breakdown of her stepmother. Now she has to try and navigate the local social world.
A world that operates entirely on rules she was never ever taught.
She gets a part-time job at Heidi's Booch Boutique, Clementine's. Bright orange awning.
And, significantly, the sources note that the shop is Heidi's business strength, something she opened using money she'd saved herself.
That's the first real crack in Auden's judgmental view of Heidi.
It is. She's capable, just not in a way that Auden's academic training values.
So Clementine's introduces Auden to this whole new social ecosystem. You've got Maggie, who's always in pink, recovering from an awful breakup with a guy named Jake.
Leah, who's focused on meeting older boys at clubs.
And Esther, who has high dating standards.
And they do the 9 o'clock dance. Before closing, a ritual Auden initially avoids, she just clings to the safety of the office.
Because these girls are performing a kind of social ballet.
A ritualized set of interactions based on unspoken rules. To Auden, these rituals are as alien and complex as a new language. She just lacks the social fluency to participate naturally.
And that lack of fluency is immediately apparent. Jake, Maggie's ex, calls her pretty girl.
Yeah. And Auden has no framework for this. She only knows how to view boys as intellectual competitors for grades or, debate slots.
And this leads directly to her first critical social failure, which is really a failure of authenticity.
It is. She tries to engage in this fumbled, hurried hookup with Jake behind the dunes at a place called The Tip. Crucially, she immediately regrets it.
She feels it was stupid and not like me at all.
Right.
Okay, let's pause here. Why did she go through with it? I mean, she's brilliant. She's academically cautious. Why risk something that felt so fundamentally wrong?
I think it's because she was so desperate to escape the emotional chaos that she treated the encounter like a mandatory course requirement, like data collection.
Exactly, data collection. She saw social life as a field she needed to conquer, and hooking up was a box she thought she needed to check to achieve normalcy. She lacked the social sophistication to simply say no or navigate normal human courtship, so she chose a clumsy, transactional form of engagement, and it backfired instantly.
And her immediate reaction is to retreat, to run back to what's safe.
Her econ textbook, she runs back to the fortress for cover. But this physical failure is what pushes her into the real world, and that's when she starts repeatedly encountering Eli, Jake's brother.
Eli is tall, longish dark hair, deep-set green eyes. Auden first spots him on the deserted boardwalk doing these fluid, hypnotic bike tricks.
And if the father is absent and stuck in his head, Eli is kinetic and present. The calm, subtle power of his motion stands in stark contrast to the deafening manufactured waves of Heidi's noise machine.
He's real.
He's real. And he's operating with a confidence Auden finds completely baffling. Their first interactions are, well, they're flat. A little combative, even.
They are. He sees her pushing the constantly crying baby and offers this cryptic line, Aren't they all, when she comments on the long night. He is hard to read, which, ironically, is what both bothers and intrigues Auden.
Because she's used to reading people whose motives are obvious.
Exactly. She's used to reading graduate students and professors whose intentions are transparently linked to academic gain. Eli's lack of transparency is refreshing.
And the connection between the two brothers is key for Auden's emotional development here.
It is. She observes that when she later rejects Jake's attempts at reconciliation, she firmly states their hookup was a mistake.
Hmm?
Eli watches the entire exchange. And crucially, Eli takes her direction well. He just walks away.
Unlike his brother, who keeps pushing.
Right. Eli intuitively understands the difference between rejection and a gain. This shows Auden that not all male attention is predatory or transactional. Some people actually respect clear boundaries.
The cracks in this superficial summer are just widening now, forcing everyone to face their underlying realities. And the true shift for Auden happens when she overhears her parents arguing about the division of labor.
And this argument is just heartbreaking because it confirms Auden's deepest fear about her father. Heidi desperately wishes he would spend time with her and the baby.
But he just responds flatly. He says he's there all the time, just, in his office, and reminds her he needs his 9 hours of sleep.
He's practicing extreme self-delusion. He's equating physical proximity with emotional presence.
He's prioritizing the idea of his important work over the immediate needs of his family. He sees them as distractions.
They're distractions from his main pursuit. And then comes the emotional slap. The father, frustrated and trying to deflect from his own failings, yells over Heidi, revealing his true motive for Auden's visit.
So ask Auden, isn't that why you wanted her to come visit?
And Auden feels, quote, literally like I'd been slapped.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just sit with that for a moment. This is the final nail in the coffin of her childhood illusion.
She realizes she wasn't there to bond with her father.
She was a resource, a transactional babysitter meant to ease Heidi's burden. Her value, once again, was purely utilitarian in their eyes. And this trauma is the ultimate catalyst that forces her to seek validation somewhere else.
Right on the heels of that trauma, her mother swoops in, trying to pull Auden back into the fortress.
She calls, expressing horror at Clementine's and Auden's new life, and she tries to sign Auden up for the ultra-restrictive Pebbleton program dorm at DeFreeze.
No roommate, no parties, no nonsense.
Exactly. And she attributes Auden's sudden lack of drive to Heidi's influence.
And this is where Auden truly finds her new voice. She finally pushes back with just simple honesty. She says, I haven't changed, this is just me.
And what she's realizing is that her mother's fear isn't about her failing, it's the possibility of her having an independent self-definition. She is asserting that the person who loves books and the person who goes on late-night quests are the same person.
And the mother's ensuing silence is just deafening.
For an academic scholar, the idea that Auden might be fundamentally different from her preferred narrative is the worst possible outcome. It's an intellectual argument. Auden finally wins by refusing to engage intellectually and instead just using pure, authentic self-assertion.
Now, despite all these social failures, Auden discovers her unexpected strength is in creating order. She fixes Heidi's completely messed up checkbook register in 4 hours.
She does. She notes the problem stemmed from double withholding in May. And this is a beautiful piece of character synthesis. She applies her academic rigor, her ability to analyze complex data sets and find the systemic error to a real-world problem: financial chaos.
For Auden, fixing that checkbook must have been so satisfying.
It's the satisfaction of imposing order on external chaos, which provides a temporary relief from the internal emotional chaos she can't yet control. And to Heidi, Auden is a miracle worker.
And the irony just keeps on cycling. Heidi offers her a job doing the books. Auden's father, annoyed, tells her not to feel obligated.
He's annoyed because he fears Auden is now siding with Heidi's shallow business strength over his deeper academic pursuits.
And then he confides in her.
He does, revealing his own deep-seated insecurity. He wishes Heidi understood the importance of his work, claiming she doesn't think like we do. But Auden, armed with her new perspective, realizes her highly intellectual mother felt the exact same way about his endless struggle with his novel.
So the academic and the business owner shared the same disdain for the writer who couldn't finish his work.
Exactly.
And this generational realization fuels Auden's final true escape, the night shift quest with Eli.
This quest isn't random. It's Auden's systematic attempt to manufacture the spontaneous, chaotic childhood experiences she missed. She's applying her academic rigor to social spontaneity.
They develop a whole routine.
A highly detailed routine, turning mundane errands into these specific, repeatable adventures.
Like the laundromat diner, Clyde, who owns the bike shop, runs a secret late-night coffee shop inside the washroom.
Serving incredible homemade pies rhubarb razzleberry. And Clyde bought the place just so he'd have something to do at night, which reflects this pursuit of purpose over obligation or profit.
And then there's the 3 a.m. Park Mart run.
Shopping for odd items like dental floss and wind chimes, and navigating the crazies. Auden adopts Eli's three-pronged attitude for dealing with the late-night clientele. Don't stare, keep a wide berth, act normal.
This is her real-world training.
It's her intensive real-world training in social intelligence and emotional non-reaction.
And Eli delivers the greatest intellectual shock Auden receives all summer, the lesson on failure.
It's huge. Eli, this popular former bike pro, just rattles off a long list of things he failed at. Algebra, football, a girl named Lacey McIntyre winning over another girl's dad.
Not fixing his own car.
Right. And he tells Auden that it's okay to fail. The alternative is not even trying. This reframes her entire concept of achievement.
He's saying that failure is a required intrinsic part of the journey.
Not a mark of deficiency. He even validates her breaking curfew as an accomplishment, noting that being at Park Mart at 4 a.m. counts as a missed experience made up for. He teaches her that action always beats analysis.
And this shared vulnerability, it builds until the defining moment at the bakery owner's party, where Eli's underlying trauma comes to the surface.
This is the critical moment of emotional connection, and it's forged through pure chaos. The tension is just palpable when Adam makes this awkward remark about flatline bikes and dying in an accident, a clear, clumsy reference to Eli's lost friend, Aid.
And Auden, feeling the visceral pain and awkwardness for Eli, she just acts.
She doesn't analyze, she doesn't calculate. She launches baked beans at Eli.
Baked beans.
And it sparks this chaotic food fight with buns, coleslaw, Cheetos. It's an immediate, primal, non-academic response to emotional trauma. It's illogical, messy, and perfectly necessary.
And in that protective chaos, Auden finally says what needed to be said without the pressure of a quiet, earnest moment.
She just says, "I'm really sorry about your friend." And Eli nods and says, "Thanks." The food fight, the pure ridiculousness of it all, provided the emotional shield they needed for genuine vulnerability. It's the ultimate antidote to her parents' cold, intellectualized way of communicating.
So despite these emotional breakthroughs, the summer hits a real crisis point when Auden's father moves out temporarily to the Condor Hotel to work things out.
Which is, of course, just his typical cowardly deflection.
And Heidi breaks down completely. Auden, now capable of recognizing genuine distress, instinctively calls Eli, who brings in his mother, Karen Stock.
And Karen Stock is the personification of practical wisdom. Sensible cardigan, white tennis shoes, a true miracle worker of calm and insight.
Her intervention is just textbook. She immediately swaddles Isby, who stops crying instantly, and she explains that Heidi needs rest.
And she delivers another vital piece of life wisdom to Auden. It takes two, or usually more, to raise a baby well. She cites her own mother's support when her own son was born.
This is a lesson in community and interdependence that Auden's life in the fortress never prepared her for.
Not at all. And Heidi recovers. She begins to apply the advice, getting more rest and feeling 100% more informed. Auden learns that sometimes academic knowledge is useless, but practical generational wisdom and community support can save a person.
But despite this growth, Auden then suffers an academic relapse. Following a confusing argument and connection with Eli the morning after her dad moves out, Auden feels the stress and she defaults.
She reverts to her ingrained habit. She shuts down socially, pulls out her econ textbook, and starts reading chapter after chapter, falling asleep over her legal pad. The textbook becomes her ultimate safety blanket.
An old friend.
An old, reliable friend who waited patiently for her to return to the comfort of structure. And this is a critical reminder for you, the listener. Change isn't linear. Stress makes us default to our most practiced habit, even if it's destructive.
And this regression is reinforced by the return of Jason, her ex-prom date from home, who is in town for the future college leadership course.
Oh, Jason. He is everything Auden used to be, just amplified. He represents the world she's supposed to inhabit, the transactional, networking-driven academic future.
He's talking intensely about prepping early for college, networking with Harvard attendees, class rank.
Making an impact on their campuses from day one. This makes Auden feel this urgent need to study harder and catch up. It confirms her relapse into the fortress mindset.
And Jason asks her to the beach bash prom, a second chance at the prom he already ditched her for once.
And she agrees. But the sources confirm the perfect, painful irony. She has stood up again.
Why this time?
He ditches her for a dinner with his FCLC attendees to discuss their recycling initiative.
Oh, of course, the recycling initiative.
Naturally. And this double rejection is pivotal because it confirms that Jason and the academic world he represents are incapable of genuine commitment or spontaneity. The priority will always be the next networking opportunity.
He was never the second chance she needed.
He was a reminder of the life she needed to leave behind.
So Auden processes this realization not by crying, but by marching immediately to the bike shop. She's applying Eli's principle of action.
Yes.
And she asks him to the prom. She's actively pursuing the genuine connection she just realized Jason couldn't offer.
It's a bold, brave move.
Yeah.
She's applying that not even trying is worse than failure mentality.
Mm-hmm.
But Eli declines. He says he has a competition in Roardale.
So she's rejected for the second time in one night.
By the two defining figures in her current life, the sterile academic future, Jason, and the experiential present, Eli. It's a moment of profound isolation.
And following this, she buys a bike anyway.
Which is such a powerful symbolic investment in her own quest for physical, independent mastery.
And this action spurs Maggie, Leah, and Esther to stage an intervention with coffee and chocolate cupcakes. They can see she's in a bad place.
Right. And during this intervention, Auden finally delivers the crucial self-confession. She admits that her relationship with Eli hit a wall because she was socially awkward, she sucked at being with you, meaning Eli, and chose to retreat into books instead of facing the challenge of the relationship.
That admission of social failure has to be way harder than admitting academic failure.
It's the final dismantling of her academic armor. And then she immediately uses her hard-won wisdom to help Maggie. Auden tells Maggie that Adam likes her, emphasizing that if she misses her chance, she'll regret it.
She's paying it forward.
She's paying forward the painful wisdom she just gained from Eli about the cost of inertia. She has moved from being the recipient of life lessons to being a practitioner. This final section is where everything synthesizes. Auden's entire transformation, focusing on the ripple effects she created and the ultimate realization that her second chance was never about a single dance or a single person.
It was about herself.
It was always at herself.
The new norm begins with Heidi. Auden volunteers to babysit Isby so Heidi can go to the beach bash. And Heidi, now wearing a stylish coral dress and a new key necklace, shares that she and Auden's father agreed to keep things separate for a bit.
Just temporarily. To let Heidi focus on herself and the baby. And this shows Heidi's growth. She's applying the practical wisdom she gained, prioritizing rest and her own business strength.
And then she shares her history with Auden.
She does. She says she was once a high achiever who had her whole life mapped out until she met Auden's dad while working at the Last Chance Cafe.
And she abandoned that path, telling Auden, the map didn't turn out to be mine after all. This has to be incredibly resonant for Auden, hearing a fellow smart girl describe abandoning the structured academic path for the messy unknown.
And Heidi's concluding advice is really the thematic core of the entire summer's education. She says, sometimes you have to manufacture your own history, give fate a push.
Which validates Auden's entire night quest. Those late-night adventures weren't random at all.
They were deliberate acts of self-creation, pushing fate into a new direction.
And then comes the unexpected, truly pivotal moment. The visit from Auden's mother. She shows up genuinely worried, confessing she thought she was losing Auden. She acknowledges her own cold, hard shell and asks if her choices had ruined Auden's life.
This is the mother's own moment of profound vulnerability and emotional opening that Auden has craved her entire life.
And Auden's response is so simple, I just wish we'd talked more.
She shifts their entire relationship from an intellectual competition to a potential emotional partnership. And the mother, shocked by her own honesty, agrees. She says, maybe you can teach me sometime. Auden's growth has now catalyzed change in her parents.
It shows that sometimes you have to be the disruptive force.
You do.
Auden then solidifies her independence by talking to her father. He admits the baby and marriage were not what I expected, that he wasn't ready for all this.
And Auden ends the call by challenging him to prove it. To prove he wants to fix things, not just intellectually justify his absence. She is no longer the passive child waiting for his attention. She's the active catalyst demanding accountability.
She is fully in control of her own narrative now.
She is. And the ultimate defining moment follows. Auden puts on a black beaded prom dress, which is this perfect blend of her old structured elegance and her new spontaneous desires. And she takes her new bike out alone.
She remembers Maggie pushing her, saying, "Go," and she approaches a curb, a previous site of failure when she was trying to throw papers.
And this time, she successfully launches up and over it. It's a moment of pure physical mastery, symbolizing her victory over her previous fear of falling and her ingrained perfectionism.
The physical act of conquering the curb is the final, tangible proof that learning comes through action, failure, and repetition, not just reading.
And who's waiting at the stoplight? Eli. He had pulled over just to watch,
And he confesses he was at a competition in Roardale, a bike trial competition.
which he won. He wasn't ditching her. He was pursuing his own quest for excellence through action.
And Auden, having learned the cost of quitting and the value of perseverance, declares, "I believe in however many chances you might need to get it right." She is choosing to define her own redemption.
And that is Auden's ultimate realization. She found that genuine life skills, riding a bike, asking for help, handling conflict, knowing when to quit and when to fight, were acquired through action, through experience, and through the inevitable screw-ups, not through vicarious lessons in books.
And the sources confirm this change is lasting. Auden and Eli end up at the U together, and Eli is now playing catch-up on classes, relying on Auden's inside things knowledge to help him on his quest for academic achievement.
They've inverted their roles. They've become partners in complementary pursuits. The academic helps the experiential, and the experiential motivates the academic. And the ultimate symbol of their journey is Eli finally proposing a name for Clyde's shop.
The best of times.
The best of times. Redefining the phrase from her brother Hollis's tacky picture frame. It no longer means a single perfect, fleeting moment, but the continuous, often messy, present that they are actively creating together, where both failure and success are necessary.
So what does this all mean? Auden's summer began with her meticulously preparing for her academic future, packing syllabi and texts, but it ended with her embracing spontaneity and finding that the most valuable knowledge often comes without a syllabus.
Usually late at night.
And sometimes, gloriously, covered in baked beans. She learned that a structured life might guarantee A's, but a spontaneous life guarantees experience.
And Auden's mother defined true learning as deciphering meaning only from the text, without external views or, messy perspectives. But Auden learned that life is the ultimate text, and sometimes the only way to understand it is to step outside the fortress, get on the bike, risk the crash, and keep trying until you nail the jump.
So the final challenge for you, the listener, is to identify what unwritten rules or ingrained habits, those reflexes you rely on when you're stressed, might be preventing you from starting your own quest for best of times.
What ingrained habit do you need to break to finally get off the academic map and start manufacturing your own history?